The Atlanta Braves are looking for an early series win in Fenway as Bryce Elder takes the mound against the Boston Red Sox. Here's your 10-minute scouting report for today's game. Yes, this is your Braves Today Scouting Report, a production of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby. In the next 10 minutes, we're breaking down everything you need to know before first pitch. Today, it's the Braves and the Red Sox in the middle game of the series, so let's get into it. Both teams have put out their lineup for the day. For the Atlanta Braves, most of the same people, a little bit of a change behind the plate and at DH. Ronald Acuna Jr. leads off in right field. Mauricio Dubon is batting second in left, with Matt Olson at first base batting third, and Ozzie Albies your cleanup hitter. In the 5 spot is third baseman Austin Riley, followed by center fielder Michael Harris. And then an interesting decision, part 2, to use Jorge Mateo as the designated hitter batting 7th. They did this with Eli White yesterday, and now with Jorge Mateo today. You kind of feel like there was an opportunity there to get somebody a half day by using Mateo at second in place of Ozzie Albies. One of these guys that hasn't had a lot of time off, But the Braves decide to go ahead and put Mateo at DH batting 7th. You then have Ha-Seong Kim at shortstop batting 8th. They're going to continue to let him try and play his way back into shape, or back into midseason baseball form. He's a notoriously slow starter, didn't have a spring training. And catcher Chadwick Tromp rotates in for Sandy Leon behind the plate, batting 9th. Acuna, Dubon, Olson, Albies, Riley, and Harris, Mateo, Kim, and Tromp. On the mound for the Braves is Big Texas, Bryce Elder, 4-2 with a 1.97 ERA. The estimators have him as overperforming that a little bit. It's a 2.98 expected ERA and a 3.28 fielding independent pitching. It's the same 5 pitches we've seen all season: 4-seam slider, cutter, changeup, sinker. That's the order to lefties. He's pretty well sequenced against lefties. It's like 32% 4-seamer, 28% slider, 17% cutter, 13% changeup. He's using everything, right? 10% sinker. Against righties, it's still predominantly sinker slider, 55% sinker, 31% slider. He has started to use that cutter a little bit against righties, but I would like to see him incorporate the 4-seam changeup combination a little bit more, or something like that when he faces a righty. I understand the changeup's a little harder to use because you can't run it off the plate against a righty, but would like to see him be a little more unpredictable against right-handed pitching. The guys to watch here in this one: Wilson Contreras. He's hitting .385 with a homer and 3 RBI off of Elder, and that homer came in the 8th inning of Elder's start. You may remember this was a pitch that was well below the zone that Wilson Contreras went down to get because the Braves were using Elder the 4th time through the order versus going to an incredibly depleted bullpen. So, fun thing there. When you look at the Boston lineup, it's actually the exact same that it was yesterday. No changes. Jarren Duran leading off in left field, Ceddanne Rafaela in center, Wilyer Abreu in right. Then you get that same Wilson Contreras at first base as the cleanup hitter. Matsutake Yoshida is your DH. Mickey Gasper batting 6th behind the plate. Nick Sogard at second, Marcelo Meyer at short, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at third. Duran and Rafaela both had home runs to open the game yesterday. We saw Kiner-Falefa just terrorize the Braves with some batting average on balls in play shenanigans. So they're just going to roll it, just going to run it back. And I get it. I fully understand. Their pitcher is left-hand pitcher Connelly Early. Braves saw him the day before that Elder start. He allowed 2 runs in his 5 innings. Both of those runs came on solo shots. One from Drake Baldwin, one from Michael Harris. Obviously, you don't have Baldwin in the lineup, but you do have Harris. This season, Early is 4-2 with a 3.33 ERA. He is also overperforming his estimators as a 4.68 expected ERA and a 4.73 fielding independent pitching. And the reason he rates lower than his actual ERA is he does give up a lot of hard contact. His average exit velocity rounds to 91 miles an hour. His barrel rate of 13.2% allowed is 6th percentile in all of baseball. The hard hit rate allowed of 43% is 27th percentile in all of baseball. His ground ball rate is barely over 40%. He's good at getting chase. He's not great at getting whiffs. He's okay at strikeouts. He's okay at walks. Like, he's all just kind of average. But the combination of this package ends up meaning you can put balls into play against him and they can be hit hard. And at home in this weirdly dimensioned ballpark, crazy things can happen when you can put balls in play. So you have to hope that the Braves can do a little bit better at getting batted balls off of him than it felt like they did last time these two teams matched up. How he attacks lefties. He goes to his sinker early in the count, over 51% usage. He ramps it up even more when he is behind, about 67% of the time. And then before he gets to two strikes, that's when he's using the sinker. When he's ahead in the count, he dramatically cuts back the sinker usage to throw his sweeper. And these two things are they don't really work together. He's either throwing the sinker early, behind, before he gets to two strikes, or the sweeper when he's ahead and when he has two strikes. He does ramp up the slider usage along with the sinker. So when he is like early in the count, when he's throwing more sinkers, he's throwing more sliders. And vice versa, when he's going to that sweeper, he's cut back on the number of sliders that he's throwing. So you don't really have to worry about both of them at the same time. It's really a 3-pitch mix between the sinker, sweeper, and four-seamer, but depending on where he is in the count, he'll pull that slider out and supplement with that from time to time. The curveball, the changeup almost never come out left on left. When he's facing a righty, it is a much more well-sequenced mix, and there's less tendencies that you can exploit here. He does throw the changeup more when he is ahead. That comes at the expense of the sinker, which was his fourth pitch in this two righties anyway. And then when he's behind, as you would imagine, he goes to that sinker at the expense of the changeup and the curveball. But the thing to know is his primary pitch, two righties in every situation, is the four-seamer. He rarely deviates from the standard usage of that thing. He doesn't deviate more than 1% or 2% in any situation. Early in the count, late in the count, when he's ahead, when he's behind, he's always throwing like 1/3 of the time. He's throwing a four-seamer. So that's always going to be there. Your question is going to be, what are the complementary pitches to it? So a little bit of a tougher time for a righty than a lefty because he is sequenced a little bit better. He does have a noted tendency to throw first pitch strikes to both lefties and righties. So he is trying to get ahead of batters early so that he can break out the sweeper. He can break out these other breaking balls to get whiffs. He is trying to establish himself up in the count at the very beginning. So that can also be something. I feel like the games where Atlanta's been successful recently in this slightly cooler version of their offense has been games where they're ambushing early in the at-bat. They're getting well-hit balls in play, and they're forcing the defense to make a play. So something to keep in mind there. When you look at the bullpen status for both teams, you start off with the Braves. Both longmen, Carlos Carrasco, Ronaldo Lopez, have not pitched since Sunday, so they are available. Tyler Kinley, Dylan Dodd haven't thrown since Saturday, so you have two medium leverage guys available. And then of the four back-end guys, because really it's four now with Didier Fuentes, Robert Suarez should be fine. Yesterday was the first time he had pitched in 4 days. He threw 9 pitches. He should be fine. Didier Fuentes is probably fine. He's pitched 3 of the last 5 days, but it was 15 pitches yesterday. It was only 5 on Sunday because of the rain. You would imagine they could bring him back if they feel like they can treat him like a standard reliever at this point. Raisel Iglesias and Dylan Lee are more of a question. I don't doubt that the Braves would be willing to go to either of these guys were they to need them. But Dylan Lee did throw 22 pitches yesterday. Raisel Iglesias did throw 25. And so if hypothetical, if Elder gives you 7, I could see the Braves doing something like Kenley to Suarez or Dodd to Kenley to Suarez if you got 6 out of Elder, and trying to give Iglesias and Lee a day off because Lee had a little bit of a longer thing because he came out in an inning and then came back for the next inning, and Iglesias had a stressful inning with that 9th inning by Boston. So no guarantees you'll see either one of those guys. I'd imagine they're available, but the goal is probably to not need to use them if at all possible. When you look at Boston, their bullpen's actually in a pretty good place. Aroldis Chapman hasn't pitched since last Wednesday. They might throw him in even if it's not close just to get him some work, because today would be a week since he's thrown in a game. A lot of their leverage arms, right? Your Garrett Whitlock, guys like that, haven't thrown since Sunday. They did use Danny Colom and Greg Weissert yesterday, 11 and 14 pitches respectively. Both those guys are in the low 30s on a 3-day pitch count because they pitched on Sunday. But I would imagine they're probably available to come back tonight since they didn't push that hard yesterday. Knowing that when you throw a guy 3 times in 4 days, you're usually going to have him down after that. This would be a back-to-back for both guys, probably down after that. Tyron Guerrero threw 36 last night. He also pitched on Sunday, so he's at 50. I would imagine that he's down, but between Justin Slayton having not pitched since Friday, Aroldis Chapman last Wednesday, a couple leverage arms that are either fresh like Whitlock or you can bring back like a Weissert and Colom, I imagine everybody's available here, or just about everybody's available for Boston to try and secure a win. Final thoughts here, kind of things that I'm looking at. Braves Today sponsor FanDuel has Atlanta favored in this, and what they think is going to be a lower scoring game. It's an over-under of 8 runs. Both of these teams have faced these starters in the last week and a half. This is the thing that I hate about the schedule and how it doubles up like this. I would imagine whichever team can get better results in their second look at the same starter is the team that's going to come out best in this. It feels like it's down to the offenses. And while I do think that Bryce Elder is or has been better than Connelly Early has been, the issue you have here is the top of this order for Boston faced Bryce Elder 4 times in that last start. So today is looks 5, 6, and 7 at the same guy. The Braves only saw Early for 5 innings. I don't even think he made it through the order 3 times. So I do think Elder is better. I think Elder's stuff is better. I think you're in a situation where they've seen more of Elder than Atlanta's seen of Connelly Early. First offense that can figure out the opposing starter and get some runs on the board feels like that's the direction this game is going to go, because I feel like both bullpens have the pieces to secure a win, even if they're not 100% right now. That's your Braves Today Scouting Report. If you want the deeper analysis, the lineup breakdowns, and everything behind the numbers, make sure you are subscribed to Braves Today. Enjoy the game. We'll be back after it with the postcast over on Locked On Sports Atlanta. And today's 3 things are game recap over at bravestoday.com.